When setting your goals, you really have to get specific, and it's really important that you get down to those specifics to be able to create that vision of where you want to go. Welcome back. I'm so glad that you're here. Let's get specific about goal planning, how to set goals, how to create that vision for yourself, and what that's really going to look like. Something that I heard on a podcast the other day was how important it is to focus on who you're called to be. Well, I think we think goal setting really needs to focus on the things we want to do, the things we want to accomplish, but truthfully, the thing that's most important is who you become in the process of attaining all of these things, all of these accomplishments. Because the person you are right now can't obtain those accomplishments, otherwise you would already have them. So there's gonna require some growth and learning and trying and failing and trying again on your part to be able to become the person you need to become to accomplish those things. So the way that we set goals is reverse engineering. So let's think about it. What do you want your life to look like in 10 years? Let's just go long-term goals right now, because then we're gonna pull it back to make some action steps. So long-term goals, right? Where do you want to be in 5 years? What house do you want to live in? Do you know the neighborhood you want to live in? How many square feet is the house? Really getting specific. What type of car do you drive? How many doors does that car have? Is it a 2-door? Is it a 4-door? Is it red? Is it blue? Is it silver? What's the make and model? In 10 years, there might be a totally new car, but for your vision right now, what car is that? What are your kids doing? Are they in activities? Obviously, their activities are going to be driven by their interests, right? Are they active in some program in the community? What does that look like? What is your perfect day? And get down to the specifics of waking up. When do you wake up? Then what do you do? Do you work out? Do you drink coffee? Do you journal? Then what do you do? Do you start your homeschool lessons? Do you drop your kids off at public school? Really getting into the flow of what would your perfect day be? Along with that, how are you creating an income? Are you creating a passive income through investments? Have you launched your extra income through social media that's now completely taken place of your 9-to-5? Is there a nonprofit or company that you really want to work at and there's a specific position that you want there? No matter what it is for you, get specific. How much are you making annually? 50,000? 90,000? 150,000? Figuring out all of those specifics of what you want in 10 years is going to help you work backwards to figure out what action steps can you take today. So you can pause me, you can work through this, you can journal. What does your life look like in 10 years? Getting specific with the square footage, getting specific with your car you want, getting specific with where you live, what's the neighborhood? Is there a certain street that you would just love to live on that street? There's a neighborhood not too far from here that I would really love to live in, and that is in my goal. So then you think 10 years. Now let's pull it back to 5 years. If that's your 10-year goal, where should you be in 5 years? Maybe you're starting out making $40,000 right now and you want to make $150,000. Does your job do that? Now, probably not if that's your goal. So, do you need to get promoted? Do you need to find a new job? Do you need to create an extra income stream? What does that look like? Do you need to fix your credit to be able to afford a house in that fancy neighborhood or afford that car? Do you need to have a massive savings goal to be able to just pay cash for that car? Do you need to be very intentional in the work that you're putting into growing this business that you have created or writing this book that you have decided to start? What does that look like? You can kind of figure out where you need to be in 5 years to figure out where you need to be in 10. For instance, if you want to be making $150,000 a year in 10 years, then you should probably be somewhere around 75, 80, or 90 by year 5, and then continuing to grow that. If you want to buy a house in that fancy neighborhood with that fancy car and you have horrible credit now, then you should probably have at least better credit in 5 years. So now that we have where we want to be in 10 years, and we kind of have an idea of where we should be at in 5 years, what do we need to start working on now? Because one thing I've learned is 5 years goes really, really fast. So let's think about buying a house and buying a car. What does your credit look like? Is your credit on point right now? Because if it is, that's great. Then you can look at, what does your savings look like? If your savings is on point, that's awesome. Now we can start to look at, what investments would make sense for you? If you don't have a savings, then what's a good savings goal? Or if your credit is just not in a good place and you're in debt, then how can we start to get your debt paid off within 3 to 5 years? Really narrowing that down and writing that out. How many credit cards do you have and what is the actual balance? $437.52. Get that specific, because when your brain starts to see that specificity is really going to help you nail it down. If you're like, I don't know, I think this credit card has like $600 or something on it, it's maxed out. That's not really specific, and that doesn't help your brain actually get intentional with what you need to do. Because when you have the willy-nilliness around your goals and where you're going, then your brain's not really going to make it a priority to get there. Your brain is going to filter in the life that you have now to keep living the life that you have now. There's this thing in your brain, and it's called the RAS, Reticular Activating System. And what it does is it's essentially like, the best way that I've heard it described is it's that lint filter in your dryer. It is a filter for your brain. So whatever gets stuck in it, that's what you focus on, that's what you think about. So for instance, if someone else were to yell, let's say my name's Candace, if someone yells Sally in the store, my brain's not even gonna register that. I might hear the loud noise and be like, wow, that person was loud, but I'm not gonna register it. But if someone yells Candace, even if they weren't talking to me, Candace, if there's another Candace in the store, I'm gonna be like, what, who, where? Because my brain has been trained to pay attention to that because it knows that's my name. It's the same thing when you go to like buy a car, or you're looking at cars and you're like, oh my gosh, I've never seen this car before. I really want this car. And then you go driving and it's absolutely everywhere. It's because your brain has been filtering it out. It hasn't been something that you needed to pay attention to until you started looking into it. And then now your brain is like, oh, there it is. Oh, there it is. Oh, there it is. Right? It's the same thing with your goals. So when you get that specificity and you're writing this down, keep in mind, that's a very helpful tip. You're writing all of this down. You're writing your goals down. It's one thing to think about it, this is where I want to be in 10 years. And if you're driving your car listening to this, or you're at work or whatever, wherever you're listening to this, whatever, and you don't have a pen and paper, then come back to this episode because you're going to want to write it down. And again, you can pause this video. If you have a pen and paper in front of you right now, pause it and get specific about your 10-year goals and then where you should be in 5 years. And then you can dial down to right now. Like, okay, let's pull up my credit report and let's see. Do I have collections? What do they amount to? Who is the creditor? Do I have credit cards? What do they amount to? Who is the company? And then you can start to be specific. Then you can put into place an action plan. All right, I'm going to have this credit card paid off with more than the minimum payment. So the minimum payment is $30. I'm going to have $70 each month put towards this card, and I'm going to have it paid off in 10 months, 12 months, something like that. And then you can start to do the next card, and then the next card, and then the next debt, and then the next collection, and then the next student loan, whatever that looks like for you. And then you're on the path to increasing your credit score. So in 5 years, it's going to be better. And then in 10 years, you'll be able to be approved for that house or that car. It's all a stepping stone. But let's look at savings. If your credit is cool, but you don't have any savings, then you need to start focusing on a savings goal, because you're going to have to put a down payment down on that house or that car. And so how much is that house? Like, go to Zillow, check it out. That's the house I want. Like, get that specific. It can feel a little creepy when you're like on Zillow, like, I want this house. It might not even be for sale. That's not the point. I want this house. It's 5,627 square feet. It is on Drury Lane. The Muffin Man will be your neighbor. But then you can start to see, okay, this house is worth $8,450. Okay, cool. What is a typical down payment, and how much will that down payment be? That's your goal. That's what you're going to need to have in 10 years. So how much do you need to be saving yearly? And then break that down monthly. And then you can start there. And even if it's like a crazy goal, like you need to be saving $300 monthly and that makes no sense to you, save what you can, because it's going to compound and it's going to get there. But have that intentionality on where you're going. Let's think about it in terms of business. If you want to be running a multi-million-dollar business in 10 years, then one, do you know what that business is? Because if you do, then you're already on the right track. And then you can start to figure out, what do I need to be doing daily to be running a $1 million business in 5 years, to have it be a multi-million-dollar business in 10 years, figuring out what you need to do daily. But also, how many sales do you need to be making daily? How many people do you need to be helping daily? How much income do you need to be making monthly to be growing it? What type of action do you need to be taking? Maybe you're already taking massive action and you are on the path. Keep going. Maybe you're not and it's time to get serious. But maybe you don't even know what that business is right now. Keep your mind curious. There are business opportunities everywhere. If you scroll on TikTok, someone is doing something over here. If you're on Instagram, someone's doing something over there. If you're watching this on YouTube, there's people all around doing something. Podcasters got stuff going on. And if you're listening to this on Apple Podcasts, there's so many different things that we haven't even thought about outside of working a 9 to 5. Work your 9 to 5 if you enjoy it and that's where you want to go. And definitely work it if that's your income for now, until you can sustain it outside of that. But there's so many different things that you can be doing. Selling products, services to people, helping other people, being a consultant, starting a YouTube channel. Like, there's so many different things that you could do to create an extra income. So what's something that interests you? And then maybe once you start learning about that, maybe that's your step 1 right now. Learn about the things that are out there and then get curious about what those things mean, how you do it. And that way you can start to make an action plan towards getting where you need to go in 5 years to be running a multi-million-dollar business in 10. The main thing to goal setting is getting specific and dreaming big. Dream big. If you're like, you know what? I said I wanted to be there in 10 years. I want to be there in 5. Do it. Go big. And then get specific. What does your life look like in living? What does your life look like in your mind, in your vision? Everything was a thought before it became something. So dream big, even if it seems wild, even if it seems crazy. And then once you've started dreaming big and putting together an action plan, start to think about the kind of person that lives that life. What does a person who runs a multi-million-dollar business do on the daily? Are they working out? Are they waking up early? Are they eating healthy? Are they sitting and watching Netflix for hours? Are they scrolling TikTok all day? What are they doing? Because then you can start to see, okay, they probably aren't watching Netflix all day, but I am. So that needs to change. And it's not like go throw your TV out the window and cut it off. Start to build new habits along the way. But when you get specific about what you want, and then you can focus in on who a person that has that is like, and what they're doing and what their habits are, how they're showing up in the world, then you can start to put together an action plan of all the things you need to change. I guarantee you someone who runs a multi-million-dollar business is pretty confident and probably able to work with a lot of different people. If you are not feeling so confident, then that's a really good place to start, boosting your confidence. And you can circle back to that episode, which I'll link at the end of this video, because building your confidence is really the key to getting any of this. Because you're gonna have to be confident and have a belief that it's possible, because you're gonna be dreaming big. You're gonna have wild things that you're gonna want. The car that you want, the place that you wanna live, the business that you're gonna own, the person that you are. It's not gonna look anything like what you have and who you are today. And that's the best part. We're forever growing, we're forever learning, we're constantly improving in the best ways. And so get specific, get serious, message me if you need anything on IG at Calling Women Higher, because I would absolutely love to help you figure out a plan that's gonna work for you, figure out where you are, and figure out where you're going, because together we are gonna be building a life that we love. Thank you so much for being with me today, and I'll see you next time.